Upper Echelon is brought to you by Deloitte. For innovative thinking and thorough strategic planning, turn to Deloitte. Graham Briggs is the Chief Executive of Harmony Gold. Graham, in my research, I couldn't believe it. It's now 4 years that you've been running what's the fifth biggest gold mining company in the world. At the time that you moved in there, you were pretty much unknown, and that, of course, isn't the case anymore. What's the spotlight been like?
It's always a challenge, Alex. Yeah, it seems like yesterday, but there's so much to do. It's so busy, and there's just this vast sort of quantity of work and stuff going ahead, and therefore it's very exciting. So, I'm not sort of a person that likes to live in the limelight and be sort of in the know all the time. So, but it's been good. Head down, work hard.
And it's needed that.
Yeah, I think, the mining is, as you know, a very tough business, and, Harmony needed a bit of that. There's a lot of focus back on operations now. So, it's much improved, and it's certainly quite a nice environment to work in.
Your background's interesting. You went to Pretoria Boys High and then decided to go to Durban, to KwaZulu-Natal University, there to study geology. What pushed you in that direction?
Yeah, the gap there, Alec, is about a 10-year gap. So after schooling, I sort of went and started becoming a learner official at the mines. I was loaned to a geology department, and because I had quite a sort of a nice feeling for nature and rocks and things like that, but that's really what set me off into geology.
So you were a learner miner to start with, and
Yeah.
then decided to get qualifications.
Yeah, and so I spent 10 years basically in geology departments and exploration and so on. And once I got married, I went to university in Durban. Durban was a choice because great weather, great place, and I think at the time we believed my wife could get a job there easier, so that was the choice.
And good geology department as well. It's
Absolutely.
well known, KZN University.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely.
Graham, that's an interesting path. You've done it the hard way.
Yeah, I guess, in university, it was a case of you couldn't fail. I was 10 years older than everyone else, so I was classified as a mature student in those days. And, that was the sort of thing. I couldn't fail. I had to make sure that I passed all my science and my chemistry and so on and so forth. So it was tough, but, that's what university can be.
And you're still with the same wife?
Yeah, I'm still with the same wife, yes. I think it's 34 years. She's going to...
I don't think she'd let you go after that sacrifice.
Yeah.
Graham, at the time that you were working at Harmony initially, you ran the Australian operations, and I guess at that time you would have had sight of what's now the most exciting part of the group, the Papua New Guinea investments. We'll get into that in a moment, but was that the learning curve that you went through there?
I went through a few, Alex. I actually left a bigger company to join Harmony just because of the challenge. So I liked the challenge. I spent nearly 2 years in Canada getting a mine up and going there for Harmony. It was never a financial success, but it was a lot of good fun. And from the mining perspective, it was successful, but the gold price was down in about $260 an ounce in those days. So it was different environment. And I really like challenges. So moving over to Australia, Papua New Guinea was a great challenge for me.
Is it as spectacularly fascinating? You've been quoted in various areas as saying perhaps the gold strike of the century. Is it that big?
It's big, Alex. Yeah, it's it's proving to be one of the highest grade deposits. It's bigger now than when Grasberg initially started mining. So when Grasberg started mining, it was actually smaller than the Wafi-Golpu deposit, and Wafi-Golpu is now bigger than that was when it started. Sure, Grasberg is the big guy of the world, but it's spectacular.
And you have already been mining there through Hidden Valley, so there's nothing, with your geologist background too, there's nothing there that, I suppose mining is always a mystery, but you've got as much visibility as you might hope for.
Well, it's in Papua New Guinea, it's always a challenge. I think it's a difficult environment. Infrastructure is difficult, but when you've got great deposits on your side, that covers up a lot of those sort of problem areas. No, it's going to be great.
When you say high grade, just explain that for people who don't understand gold mining.
Well, if you look worldwide, these types of deposits are grading in the region of about call it 0.5% of copper and about zero point 0.5 gram a ton gold. So that's sort of these big deposits you can make substantial amounts of money out of that. Grasberg is a little bit higher grade. It's probably about 0.8% copper and probably about 0.6 of a gram of gold. And Wafi-Golpu is a bit higher than that. It's 1% copper. And it's about zero point 0.8 gram gold. So it's the highest grade deposit around of that type at the moment. And we're using comparables. We use the same sort of cutoff grades and same sort of parameters to quantify this.
And this, of course, is all open cast mining. You won't get confused with the much higher grades that you find in South Africa, but there you have to go down into the bowels of the earth to get there.
Yeah, I mean, these types of deposits, typically you bulk mine them. So it will be underground, probably a bit of combination of surface, open pit mining, but the bulk of it's going to be underground bulk mining, what they call block cave. It's quite a cheap method of mining, it's big mechanized mining.
What about the environmental issues? Again, Googling around the Graham Briggs name, I see there are a few people in Papua New Guinea who are already waving flags and saying Harmony needs to back up its activities on the environmental side.
Yeah, the environmental thing in Papua New Guinea has been quite big because very difficult to build tailings dams in Papua New Guinea. So a lot of mining has happened and people have been either river discharging or discharging into the deep sea. But Hidden Valley actually has an engineered tailings dam, and that's the way we've been deciding to take it forward. Unfortunately, there was quite a bit of sediment from the initial sort of open pit, the waste mining that went into the river. But this is a non-toxic, it's really just adding to the sediment. So there's been a bit of flag waving about that. Certainly the way forward for Wafi-Golpu again is engineered tailings dam, and that's the way we're going to take that forward.
Exciting prospect, that one. Here at home in South Africa, your operations, you've got to go deeper, you've got to go harder to try and find the gold, or the better quality of gold. And of course you've got serious challenges, maybe starting off with electricity. Is that something that when you sit around the boardroom and scratch your heads, that you can do anything about?
Yeah, there's a lot that's been done in, for instance, electricity in the last while. The engineers worked hard, saved lots of money. There's always new, innovative ways of looking at things. So we've managed to save considerable amounts of electricity, but of course the price is going up, and that's a big challenge. It and our labour costs are the biggest challenges. But, we spent a lot of money and a lot of capital in the last few years on really establishing newer mines which have got higher grade. The operations are much newer, infrastructure's newer. So we've really transformed the organisation in the last few years by spending this money on these newer assets, and then close down a lot of the old low-grade shafts.
Is there any way of looking maybe laterally at those two challenges of yours, starting off with electricity? Can you put in your own plant? Has that ever been a temptation?
It's always been a consideration, Alex, but the problem there is you need long life. Electricity business is a long life business. You're talking about many years, 30, 50 years. And it's always, we've been fairly marginal, and therefore any fluctuations in costs, or obviously the product costs, the gold price, can affect us very badly. And therefore it's very difficult to determine a nice long-term future. Having said that, now we've established some better operations. We're obviously better equipped to look at those sort of things. But establishing power business is really a much longer term business.
And as far as labour is concerned, there are a few of us banging the drum to say, let's engage, let's educate, let people understand what business or capitalism is really all about. Have you made any drives in that area?
We've made some progress in that area, Alex. We certainly share all our financial information with labour, and we make sure that our management are sort of fully informed of where the company is and the profit situation or the loss situation, as it may be, and make sure that gets down basically to the lowest levels in the organisation. This year we actually have got a small profit share initiative in our wages that we negotiated. So we're certainly hoping that we can continue to enlighten people, and that when it goes well with the company, it'll go well with employees.
It's a big challenge for the country as a whole, and I guess when you're employing 40,000 people,
Yep.
it becomes an even bigger one. Graham, talking with Mark Curifani the other day, he was very bullish about the gold price. You have been too. You're on record as looking at $1,800 an ounce or sometime in 2012. It seems like we might get there even in 2011. What makes you so optimistic?
I guess there are a lot of issues there, Alex. If you just look at supply and demand in the world, supply of new mined gold hasn't really been going up. In fact, it's been static or slightly downwards in the last few years. South African production's been down. No big new discoveries of gold mines. There's a lot of reworking of some of the older prospects, which may now, with new gold prices, be profitable. But also the demand has been good. Gold has been a currency. People have been accumulating gold. Banks haven't been selling gold like they were in the past. And then, of course, there's all the financial problems of the world, which has really, made gold do what it's done in the last few days. So, but still very bullish on the trend.
And the longer term benchmark, do you have anything like that before you go ahead with a project, you would believe that the gold price is going to be, say, $1,000 an ounce?
Oh yeah, we always do that, but we always get it wrong, Alex. So, it's a case of, 6 months ago we were doing plans on basically gold price around 300,000 Rand a kilogram. The gold price today is around 400,000, so completely wrong, and of course in the right way. So it's fine, But these things can go up and down, so one has to be relatively conservative when you're looking at a long-term project.
You mentioned that in rand terms. Clearly, the bulk of Harmony's assets are in South Africa,
Yep.
but the bulk of the gold in the world is not here anymore. Apart from Papua New Guinea, are there other opportunities you're looking at?
Yeah, it's been difficult in the last while to look at other opportunities because of the gold price, and the expectation of sellers has been quite high. So we've been continuing to look around. We like Southeast Asia. We know the geology there, so there are other countries there that look attractive. Somehow we've never managed in Africa to sort of get a foothold, but we continue to look.
Just going ahead, is your business the one that you inherited in 2007? And as you said, there was a lot of work to be done. There were a lot of projects on the drawing board then already that you're now getting closer to completion. If you were to say on a scale of 1 to 10 on where the business is now as far as where you'd like it to be, how would you rate?
I would probably rate it, if I was really being quite critical of myself, I think would probably rate it as we're probably around about a 6 or a 7. We would have hoped to be somewhere around a 7 or a 8 by now. We've changed the business a lot in the last few years, and strategically, I think we've done the right things. But projects have been a bit slower in build-up, and so we can be a bit critical of ourselves on where we are. But certainly we've put the company into a position where it's going to have a great future.
And dividends seem to be an important issue for you.
Of course. I think, these days, if you look at our shareholding, there are a lot of shareholders that buy us either for growth or for, the value of our shares. And therefore, probably more than 50% of our shareholders are, funds or pension funds and so on. And, they rely on dividends. So I think it's quite important to pay dividends.
Graham Briggs, the Chief Executive of Harmony Gold, in what is looking like a golden year. Gold price at through $1,700 an ounce. In fact, getting close to $1,750, and well positioned. Many people's favorite investment, Harmony Gold, in a rising gold price environment. An Upper Echelon was brought to you by Deloitte. For innovative thinking and thorough strategic planning, turn to Deloitte.